Hey, what's up? It's me, CMZ News, aka Candace, here with another recap of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. We are on season 12, episode 12, and we are still at Diana's Christmas party. So the scene starts back up again with us ending with Erica making the comment about Crystal and the chicken tender. If you recall the previous episode, Crystal was kind of talking about her eating her ED, and the waiter comes around with some chicken tenders, and Erica's like, "You can't have one of those," and grabs it. And I was like, oh my God, that was so inappropriate, awkward. Drunk Erica is just saying and doing anything. We get a quick little scene with Kathy and Cherie. Kathy comes up and is like, "Oh, it's so good to see you again." And Cherie's like, "We've never met before, Kathy." It was really funny. I love Cherie's personality. I'm still loving Kathy so far. I know there's drama to come with Kathy this season. Haven't seen anything. She's been very scarce, but her scenes have been pleasant. So they all end up going inside. And here we have a moment that was actually, I didn't know whether this was like uncomfortable, if I was enjoying it, or what. But we have Asher. And Asher begins to sing. The ladies sit down, and Asher gets on the mic. And he looks great. You know, he's got his hair flowing, and he's just like, they've got this beautiful piano, and Diana's just sitting there like a proud mother. I'm sorry, she is. She's just like doing her weird licking thing. And Asher begins to sing "Oh Holy Night." And oh, holy, do I understand why Diana is now on this show. She is on this show to get her fiance a career, to, I'm assuming, to like advertise his vocals, because it doesn't make sense why Diana is here. Diana is very wealthy. Diana is well connected. Diana doesn't need these women. She doesn't need this show. If anything, it's highlighted some negative things about Diana and her past and her associations with some of her really questionable famous friends. Last name starts with E, J-E. I won't go into further, look it up. So I'm thinking, this is it. This is why she wants to showcase Asher's talent. But then I'm like, would she really need to do that? Because honestly, she has famous friends. She probably can introduce, and has introduced, Asher to many people. And I think he's got a CD and stuff. So that's what I was thinking. Now, I'm not going to take anything away from him. He was really good. He has a really great voice. And "Oh Holy Night" is actually one of my favorite Christmas songs. I get the chills. I love it. I love a traditional singing of it. I love like Jennifer Hudson's version. I love Celine Dion's version. Like it's a great song. And you know, it's a Christmas, right? So people are singing carols, and when someone is singing, you might want to join in. Oh, but you know, when someone could sing that well as Asher, I would have just kept my mouth shut, because I am not a good singer at all, okay? And Erica Girardi, Erica Jane, Erica whatever, pretty mess, decides to start singing, and she's like really cutting up. She's like, "Hit the high note," and she's like singing with him. And listen, Erica was on Chicago. She obviously has a voice as well, but it was not the right moment for her to get involved in. It was like really cringe. And you know, you got Garcelle like looking over there, and everyone's kind of like, okay. But the ladies actually really seemed to enjoy his performance, and they were tearing up, and you know, it was sweet. It's the holidays. They're ending emotional last few weeks with like Rena losing her mom and different things like that. So it was really emotional. Kyle really loved it as well, and said it just reminded her of, you know, Christmas with her and Kathy as kids. So let's see, I'm looking at my notes. Now we are ending the night. We are saying our last goodbyes. Kathy goes out there and is saying goodbye. Oh, excuse me. They go outside. They're all sitting down. Kathy comes outside. This is after they're singing. And Brenna is trying to wrangle Erica up. And, you know, Erica's acting kind of wild. She's talking to Diana. And, you know, Erica gets into, "I want to tell you. I want to apologize that I wasn't at Paris and Carter's wedding. I didn't want to bring the scarlet letter to Paris's wedding and possibly overshadow it." And she's like crying and stuff. And I'm like, okay, first of all, Paris Hilton has been engaged almost as many times as J-Lo. And like, I never thought this girl was going to walk down the aisle. And I actually really appreciate that Paris, like, or not appreciate, but I really have to commend her. She collects, one thing about Paris is going to get engaged, but she doesn't walk down the aisle. And I felt like, when she married Carter, it was going to be like forever. She sees her parents in long marriages, her aunt Kyle, her sister's married, so I think Paris really does genuinely appreciate marriage. But I'm thinking, can you really overshadow Paris freaking Hilton's wedding? Like, I don't know. But, Erica does have the scarlet letter on her. So Kathy's just listening and she's just like, oh, wow, like she's kind of sloppy, and Erica's crying. And she's like, look, I've made some mistakes. Kathy's just kind of listening. And in the same kind of scene, we have Kyle, Garcelle, and Crystal back inside, and they're also talking with Cherie. And they're talking about how Sutton's not there and she's lonely. Kathy comes in from outside and is like, she was obviously outside with Erica and Brenna and Diana. And Garcelle's like, how was Erica? And she's like, she's kind of a mess, and kind of comments on, you really can't get that sloppy. And Kyle starts up again with, well, she's loosening up and, she's made some mistakes, but we should really cut her some slack. And you get freaking Garcelle snaps and she goes, oh no, you can cut her some slack. I don't have to cut her any slack. And everyone was like, kind of like, okay. And she's like, look, we cannot be in denial about her behavior for the safety of our friendship. She was out of control on the boat. She was out of control at my birthday party, cursing on my kids, trying to bang my son. I don't have to cut her any slack, Kyle. And you have Crystal also agreeing that, look, Kyle is one of those friends who's just going to support you blindly. And Crystal's like, that's not how you be a good friend to me. You don't be a good friend by supporting me blindly. You need to call me out when I am not doing the right thing. Okay. So I accepted that. Again, we're still at this Christmas party. They go back outside. We've got a scene with Brenna, Diana, and Erica. And Erica starts talking about how she really couldn't have got through these last couple years without Brenna's support and her daughter's support. And Brenna's daughter, I'm not sure which one, Delilah or the Amelia, is the one who has her go get help. As you know, Brenna's daughters have struggled with their mental health. And, Brenna's used that as a storyline, instead of exposing anything about herself. But of course, we know as parents, when it happens with you, to your kids, it's happening to you. So she's like, I'm getting some support and I'm loving this family unit. Her daughters have been there for her. So then Garcelle comes out and she comes to say goodbye. Brenna's kind of like stumbling to get Erica out there. We get a couple scenes of Erica falling and looking kind of wild. And Diana's like, look, you can spend the night if you need to. And I'm like, Erica, please get your drunk ass out of there. Do not spend the night at Madame Diana's house. Okay, go. So so they go ahead and leave, walk her out. Diana and Garcelle actually have a moment. Diana apologizes to Garcelle for the way she's lashed out. Diana's like, I've gone through a lot. I pushed my body, kind of having that conversation again like last week. And she's like, look, I can see in your eyes that you like me, to Garcelle. And Garcelle's like, yeah, okay, well, thanks for a good night. It was kind of funny. I don't think this is a friendship that's going to go anywhere. I don't think Diana's going to go anywhere. I don't think Diana's going to be there further. But I like that she apologized because she did kind of come at Garcelle crazy. She, was asking her, oh, what are you, her bodyguard? Are you her mouthpiece? Oh, what are you going to take a swing at me? Like saying all this super aggressive stuff to Garcelle that was just like out of line. Per usual, Garcelle handled it classily. Then we get this like funny little scene of Kathy hiding Kyle's purse, and as we know, Kathy's a little bit of a jokester. So the next morning, PK and Dorit, okay, PK had went out drinking, had apparently a glass of wine at dinner, and he got pulled over for suspicion of, I think it was speeding maybe, but he admitted, of course, he had a drink. They had him blow the legal limit. The legal limit is 0.80, I believe. He blew a 0.81. I guess I'm not really sure of all the details, but anyways, he was allowed to go to the station. They repoed his car, or not repoed, they took his car. And Dorit, I guess this happened, the timeline's kind of fuzzy, but they're discussing it, and Dorit is going on and on about how she wasn't happy, that he wasn't going to tell her, that she had to find out later, and she would have been really upset if she found out online. She was grateful that he just got a ticket, grateful that no one was hurt, and it's a lesson. And honestly, there's more about that in the next episode, but we all know by now not to drink and drive. I mean, I think, PK had one drink, and it's just a lesson to show you that you might think, you ate dinner, and I know PK ate him a steak or something, okay? No shade, but he ate, and he had a glass of wine. Maybe he had more, but he claims one, and I'm positive he can hold his liquor, and I'm sure he was actually okay to, maybe drive, but, the legal limit is no joke. You have one drink, and you literally are over the limit. So it's another lesson to just not drink and drive. They have the money for drivers, for like personal drivers. And then of course we all have access to Ubers and cabs and Lyfts and all this stuff. So don't do it, folks. We have that same morning, I guess, we have a meeting with Erica, Mikey, and her publicist and her assistant. And they are working on her hairline. And we get a little montage of them, showing the hair. Erica's like, look, I've worn it all. I've worn mink. I've worn this. I've worn that. Like, I love hair. And, she always has her hair looking pretty good. And she's like, this is a perfect avenue for her to get into. She's going to get it all back. She's lost it all, but she's going to get it all back. And I'm thinking, are you going to get it all back and pay these lawsuits back? Whatever. She's going to support herself. And also, I think it's interesting that she's, she's got a Mikey, she's got a publicist, she's got an assistant. Like, how are you paying all these people? I mean, we know she's getting income from the Housewife show, but I really don't know how she's paying all these people. But, at the end of the day, you can't be on the show looking raggedy. So I'm sure someone's got to give. So she's on there. Rinna ends up coming over, and Mikey stays. Her publicist and her assistant get out of there. Mikey has known Erica for like 13 something years. Obviously Brenna and her are really close, and they just start talking. They start talking about, how drunk she was the other night, and Erica's like, oh, well, I came home and I hit my head, and Brenna's like, oh, and I'm like, Brenna, she's saying it as if the same thing is like, oh my God, I hit my knee really hard. Like, oh man, that sucks when that happens. No, you're drunk. 50-year-old friend hit her head, proceeds to black out. Like, girl, why are you drinking so much? And they kind of get into it. Erica throws it out there, well, the problem is I'm mixing my drinks. And Lisa's like, look, when you're on those medications, you have one drink, it's like you've had 5. And Erica admits that she's having a hard time staying away from the social aspect. All they're doing is setting up dinners and drinks and all these outings. Okay, there's lots of alcohol and all this stuff, and she's having a hard time staying away from it. And Lisa shares with her, listen, you're going to hear what I have to say, and you're going to hear what Mikey has to say. And they basically get in her butt a bit, and they're like, you have gone through tremendous trauma. Your husband, he screwed you over, everyone else over. Maybe he's not the man you thought you married. Later, of course, Erica comes out that tells us that Tom is, a cheater on her. So he's cheating at the law firm. He's cheating on her. It's almost like this really bad marriage where it's just she's can't say anything. She has no money. She doesn't have access to anything. So it's kind of like, did you not know he was this bad person? Because last year you were saying all these terrible things, and let's not forget that. Tom rolled his car, and then her son came, and it was snowing in Pasadena and that whole thing. So there's a lot of secrets and things about Tom. So I don't know how shocking it is to find out some of the stuff she found out about her husband. But nevertheless, Rinna had a really good conversation with her. Mikey was there too. I don't know, if this conversation was pre-rehearsed. I'm thinking, listen, if this is my best friend, I might say, listen, I want to talk to you on camera about X, Y, and Z. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm going to keep it clean, or I'm not going to say so much, but I'm going to talk about it on camera. They want me to, and be like, is there anything you don't want me to say? I know they probably do that because they are all thick as thieves. They do that with each other. They don't do that with anybody else, but they do it with each other. So I thought it was a good scene. She tells Erica, you've hit rock bottom. I don't think that's rock bottom. I think rock bottom was like last year for sure. Her drinking is a result of her dealing, but it would be really interesting to see Erica without people who are not just her coworkers or people who she's paying. I know that her son doesn't maybe want to be on the show, but like she needs him to step up and show, especially because people think she's stealing from widows and orphans. Like we need to see Erica Jane as a mom, Erica Girardi. We need to see more of that. We need to see her interactions with him. Even if their interaction is more cool and adult like, we need to see that. You know, we need to see maybe something with her mom, a phone call with her mother, her reaching out, Mom, I really miss you. I need you right now. We don't see that with her. And, you know, it was a really good scene, but there's obviously more to come. More is going to come out about Erica and like just kind of what she's been going through. Sorry, multitasking right now. And then we transition to what everyone did for Christmas. We get a montage of Crystal with her family, Lisa with her fam, Garcelle was in Vegas with her kids. And now we are finally into 2022 and putting the holidays behind us and moving into the new year. So we've got Sutton. She comes over. She has a really cute scene with Jade, which is one of Garcelle's twins. And once again, Garcelle is bringing up the drinking of Erica at the party. They have a quick little scene about that. You know, I'm going to just tell you right now, I'm a little irritated that Garcelle always has Erica's name in her mouth. I do think that, you know, yes, Garcelle was mistreated by Erica, or, you know, Erica mistreated her kids and all that. And I feel like Garcelle's is kind of trying to make up for some of the things she didn't say last year when Erica was coming all crazy and shut up and all that to Sutton. So I think that she's trying to be a good friend in that regard. But I feel like it's almost feeling a little gossipy. You know, there's a difference between really caring and just kind of running around and saying, and I feel like it's a mix. I feel like, does she care about Erica? Yes, but I think she's also angry. And, you know, keep in mind, we know off the scene, if you will, that later off the offline drama that Erica's thrown Garcelle's book in the trash and all these different things. But that hasn't happened yet. We are in January. This is August. And I think that happened around like April or May or something. So they're still somewhat friendly at this point. But anyway, so they talk about that. And Garcelle's like, look, I'm going to go and I'm going to have a conversation with Erica. And Sutton's like, okay, you do that because I'm staying out of that. I am not talking to Erica about nothing. No, ma'am. And it was kind of cute. And then they start talking about what they did for the holidays. And, you know, Sutton was alone. Her kids, she has 3 kids, I believe. They were in Italy with her ex. She also found out that her ex was there with his new serious girlfriend. Sutton had a good attitude, I think, about it and being alone, and how her and Garcelle just really bond because they are these single women. And she's just like, you know, when you're sick and you're vulnerable, it just really kind of brings it up there that, look, you know, I do have really good girlfriends, but like I really miss having that special someone in the life. And it's not about always needing a man, but I think, you know, Sutton was right. And it's a sad time of year anyway, sometimes for people, holidays, even when you have family, even when you have a man or a spouse or your person, it could be kind of lonely. You know, maybe you're thinking about what you don't have. It's just that time of year that just, you know, bring that seasonal sadness. And so it was nice. And, you know, Sutton, she said she called every ex in her book. So, and then we get another scene of Sutton getting ready to go on a date, I think with Sanjit. And then we go back to Kyle and Dorit discussing the arrest. Kyle is saying how PK tells Maurizio everything, and he told Maurizio over her. Kyle's like, look, I don't like that. I'm mad that Mo didn't tell me what happened. I had to hear about it later. And they just have like a little scene. It was actually, I don't even know why they even had that scene. It was really, really short, small, just again, the DUI. So then we get to Sanjit and Sutton on their date. And Sutton shows up. She's wearing like a sweater and some shorts. Sanjit, nice looking guy. And they start ordering some food. Sutton immediately starts with her little weirdness. She's like, I don't even think spicy, which that's not weird, but she's like, well, with your Indian background, I know you like spicy food. Sanjit's like mentioning, you know, some things he likes to do. And he actually sounds like he's fun. He clearly loves music. He's like, hey, you know, the Go-Go's are playing right down the street. They start talking about some bands from the 80s, you know, who'd they say? Gosh, Sex Pistols and a couple other bands, and it was a quirky little date. Some of Sutton's little quirks came out. She's like scratching her foot and stuff, but Sanjit seemed to like her. I'm hoping there's gonna be more Sanjit dates, and we'll see, because Sutton does want a boyfriend. Okay, so now, oh my gosh, we're almost there. I actually thought I had like a lot more to say. Okay, so let's get to it. This conversation, Erica and Garcelle. We end the date with Sutton and Sanjit. Now we are at dinner. Garcelle and Erica are getting together. Garcelle arrives, and honestly, she looks so beautiful. She's wearing like this lace top thing, and even Erica's like, you look great. You know, they sit down to order drinks. Garcelle orders a Casamigos neat, and Erica's like, can I get a chamomile tea? And the waitress is like, we don't actually do any hot drinks up here. So Erica's like, okay, well, what kind of bourbon do you have? And it was just so funny because Garcelle's like, you go from tea to like ordering a drink. I thought that was kind of funny, but I'm like, look, first of all, Garcelle, if you really want to stand with her in solidarity and her drinking, maybe you shouldn't be ordering a drink either. Erica has also not ever said that she is, an alcoholic. So I do not think that you need to even really be on her that hard as far as like if she does decide to order. It's about her limiting and her not overindulging. And actually, I want to circle back because I forgot to mention in that scene earlier with when Kyle and them were talking and Garcelle was like, you cut her some slack. Kyle actually felt that Garcelle was trying to bait her into saying that Erica had more of a drinking problem than she felt comfortable saying. And Kyle's like, look, I've dealt with that with my sister, Kim. And so I just slipped into Sutton's accent. I don't know why. Kyle's like, I've dealt with that with my sister, Kim. Garcelle also has dealt with addiction issues with her son, Oliver. So, Garcelle has a right, I think, or has experience with this and can speak on this. And Kyle, I will say, honey, Kyle, you're the one who said after Kim, you stole my goddamn house. And then you ran down there like you were going to strangle Kim in that limo season 1 and said, you're an alcoholic and you were sick. You're the one who put that out there. And Kathy fell out with you. So I just wanted to circle back around because that was not lost on me. That Kyle, honey, you're the one who put out there Kim's drinking issues, okay? Now, they start talking. We're back to Garcelle and Erica. They're talking, they do the little pleasantries. And she's like, Garcelle's like, look, the last time I saw you, you were feeling pretty good. Erica's like, no, I was blacked out. And she goes, I appreciate you trying to handle that gently, but I was out of control. I was drunk. And Erica immediately lets her know, look, Rinna came over and she gathered me all the way together. And she let me know that I am out of control with my drinking. And Erica's like, really? Okay, she talked to you. She goes, yeah. She goes, my eyes are like open now. And they talk a little bit about the mixing of the drinks and the medications. And that's the story Erica's sticking to, that this is a medication issue that is causing her to drink so much. And so, what can Garcelle really say? She's like, okay, well, I'm glad, that you're acknowledged it. And Erica mentions that her eyes are like much clearer now after talking to Rinna, and that she, is believing that, things are going to change a little bit, and she's owning it. So our Garcelle, being the great producer of the show that she has become, leads her in and is like, so now that your eyes are open, is there anything that have opened your eyes to our group? And Erica's like, well, I'm glad that you have Cherie because Sutton is a liability. She's very unpredictable. Garcelle's like, what? How is Sutton a liability to me? She goes, first of all, Erica, you is there a more scandalous woman right now in reality television other than Erica Jane? You have these massive lawsuits and you're telling me that my friend is a liability? Like the LA Times is constantly writing letters about you, honey. Like, no. So I get Garcelle on that. And she's kind of just listening like, how am I a liability? Erica goes a little further and tells her, I feel like you are always trying to protect Sutton. She gets herself into these predicaments and these word vomits and these situations with people. And she's a big girl, Garcelle, and she does not need you to protect her. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, you know what? You've got a point there that Sutton is an adult, but you know what? There were times where people should have stepped in, especially Erica, when you were being a bully at that table, yelling at her and basically telling her you're gonna fight her and you're gonna cut her and do all this stuff and threatening her. No, she needed a friend to to be there for her. But she didn't have that. And then Garcelle doesn't really agree with that, but we're going to get more of that later. So, Garcelle is her friend, and I think that the Fox Force 5, which is really 4 because not all 5 of them are on this show, Renna, Lisa, Erica, and Kyle, they all support each other and have each other's back. And now Diana, they've just Diana is their little princess now, or their queen, because she's got real money. So I think they all do that. They all protect each other, but they have decided that Sutton is the one that they want and that they want to take down. And Garcelle ain't flipping on her. Garcelle's actually coming for them. So that was the end of that episode. I did enjoy the dinner. I see glimmers and glimpses of when I think, Erica and Garcelle could really get along if there wasn't so much, mistrust. I don't think Garcelle doesn't trust her, and I don't think Erica tries hard to really open and be really real with her. It's very surface, and I think Garcelle is a person who is real and wants a real friendship. Garcelle has things to offer. She has experiences. She's gone through a divorce. She's gone through painful things. She's gone through trouble in her life, and Erica doesn't come to her with that, and she finds out things later. So I think that there's a distrust there, but I don't think that Erica actually hates Garcelle. Not at this point. Later, and maybe now she does, but I'm looking forward to what happens. The season is really good. I have one more recap to bring you guys, and then I'll be caught up. And can you believe I've had all week and I literally I don't know what's wrong with me, but I wanted to do this. It's painless as usual, and I love talking about this stuff. So if you enjoyed this, please like it. Leave me a comment. I love that. And then, of course, subscribe. I have 14 subscribers. I'm trying to get 25. Okay, so help me get there. Share with your friends. Share with Housewives fans. And once again, Candace here signing off, aka CMZ News. Have a good night.